Welcome to You've Got a Type. My name is Colton Simmons, and today I'm going to map each Myers-Briggs personality type to a corresponding Enneagram type, or at least I'm going to try. Quick disclaimer before we dive in. My goal today is to help people better understand the Enneagram, as that's my personal area of expertise, not Myers-Briggs, which is a fundamentally different system than the Enneagram. Furthermore, there are 16 personality types within Myers-Briggs and only 9 personality types within the Enneagram. And since I wanted to force myself to assign each Myers-Briggs type to only one Enneagram type, I decided to use the system of Enneagram wings so that I could have 18 Enneagram subtypes to choose from. If you're unfamiliar with Enneagram wings, it's just a theory that we share traits with the Enneagram type directly to the right or to the left of our primary type. So for example, if you look at the Enneagram shape, you'll see that type 1 is in between type 9 and type 2. Therefore, ones can either be a 1-wing 2 or a 1-wing 9. And so I'll assign a different Myers-Briggs type to each of those wing variations. For those of you really following along at home, you're saying, but wait, Colton, that's 18 Enneagram types to 16 Myers-Briggs types. To which I'd respond, that's correct, Nigel. This is not an exact system, just a potentially helpful discussion about personality type patterns. So ultimately what I had to do was pick 2 Myers-Briggs personality types to use for 2 different Enneagram types. And spoiler alert, it's ENFP and INFP. Okay, last thing before we dive in, the descriptions I'm using for each Myers-Briggs type are coming from the site 16personalities.com, mostly because I'm a sucker for those cute little illustrations they got. So if you don't like the way I'm describing your Myers-Briggs type, you can blame them. All right, that's enough chit chat. Time to dive into our first Myers-Briggs type, which will be our beloved INFJs. For the INFJ personality type, I believe the 1-wing 2 is the best match. Ironically, both INFJs and 1-wing 2s are nicknamed the Advocate. INFJs are described as principled, passionate, insightful, and altruistic people that want to use their wisdom and virtues to serve others and make the world a better place. They're also sensitive to criticism, a bit rigid, perfectionistic, and prone to burnout due to the responsibility they place on themselves to improve everything and everyone around them. Now, ones at their core are people who live according to their values, a sense of purpose, and a relentless desire to restore a sense of holy perfection. And the 2-wing makes them even more focused on improving the lives of others, as 2s are defined by their relationships and acts of service. Overall, both these types are introspective yet social perfectionists that can't help but constantly express a vision for how things could be better. So if you're an INFJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 1-wing 2 is a great place to start. For the ISTJ personality type, I believe the Enneagram Type 1 with a 9-wing is the best match. ISTJs are described as calm, practical, stubborn, direct, and plagued with an overwhelming sense of personal responsibility. ISTJs, much like 1-wing 9s, are focused on creating order out of chaos so that their environment can remain perfectly in balance. Now, 1s are driven to be morally good, and 9s are driven to maintain harmony in their environment. So this combo can create a very introspective, philosophical personality that is almost more interested in judging the world from afar rather than interacting with it directly like a 1-wing 2 would. Both ISTJs and 1-wing 9s also have a tougher time navigating emotions, unless that emotion is anger or frustration, which is usually expressed in the form of some brutal honesty. Overall, both these types are defined by their unrelenting sense of integrity, which can make them incredible role models for society, all while stirring up this subtle pool of resentment for those with lesser standards. So if you're an ISTJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 1-wing 9 is a great place to start. Next up is the ISFJ. For the ISFJ personality type, I believe Enneagram Type 2 Wing 1 is the best match. However, I also thought the 6-wing 5 would be a great fit here, but since I could only pick one, I felt the 6 Wing 5 was a better fit for a different Myers-Briggs type, which I'll get to in a little bit. ISFJs are described as feeling the most energized and effective when they're showing up for someone who needs their help. And that was pretty much the line that convinced me to assign them to the Enneagram 2 Wing 1, because they're nicknamed the servant due to their constant selfless work often done behind the scenes. ISFJs are also described as rarely demanding recognition for all that they do. The downside for 2 Wing 1s and ISFJs is that they're often too humble, and their attempt to look infinitely supportive means that they often repress their own needs, get taken advantage of, and then boil up with resentment because their pride just can't take any more neglect. All that to say, if you're an ISFJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 2 Wing 1 is a great place to start. Next up is the ESFJ. For the ESFJ personality type, I believe the Enneagram Type 2 with a 3 wing is the best match. ESFJs are described as believing in the power of hospitality, good manners, and typically feeling a sense of duty to those around them. ESFJs are also very concerned about their social status, need a ton of affirmation, and tend to shamelessly fish for compliments if they're feeling insecure. Now, 2s are called helpers because their core desire is to earn love by serving others, but 3s are called achievers because they're driven to earn love by standing out from the crowd with their exceptional set of skills. So 2 Wing 3s have this strange mix of service and prominence, humility and vanity. Overall, both ESFJs and 2 Wing 3s strive to keep everything light and positive and connected, all while having a deep need to be recognized for the gifts they provide their community. So if you're an ESFJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 2 Wing 3 is a great place to start. Next up is the ENFJ. For the ENFJ personality type, I believe the Enneagram 3 with a 2 wing is a great match. ENFJs are described as natural-born leaders. They are filled with passion and charisma that allow them to inspire others, not just in their careers, but in every arena of their lives, including their relationships. So that combination of career prominence mixed with an emphasis on their personal relationships is exactly what the mix of a Type 3 and a Type 2 creates. Now, both ENFJs and 3s with a 2 wing have a ton of energy, but this leads to their greatest struggle, which is being too intense and getting too involved in the lives of other people. This is partially due to the fact that they overestimate their abilities and energy level, but also due to the fact that other people become a reflection of their identity and reputation. Overall, both these types are a warm, engaging powerhouse of a personality. So if you're an ENFJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 3 Wing 2 is a great place to start. Next up is the ENFP. At the start of this video, I mentioned that I had to pick a few Myers-Briggs types to use for multiple Enneagram types, since there are 16 Myers-Briggs types and 18 Enneagram subtypes when using the wings. So the ENFP is one of those types I chose to use for both the 3 Wing 4 and the 4 Wing 3. So when it comes to the 3s with a 4 wing, they fit the ENFP personality type because they're enthusiastic, eloquent, and empathetic, yet driven in their careers. 3 Wing 4s are called the professional, as their identity is wrapped up in feeling special and accepted within their chosen field of work. ENFPs also have a deep fear of being disliked, and so they tend to shy away from any hard conversations in order to avoid tarnishing their positive reputation. Overall, both ENFPs and 3s with a 4 wing have a keen eye for reading people so that they can engage them in the most effective or impactful way possible. So if you're an ENFP looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 3 with a 4 wing is one of the good places to start. Now, when it comes to 4s with a 3 wing, they also fit the ENFP personality type, despite Type 4 individualists having a bit of a reputation as melancholy, artistic introverts. The 4's essence parallels the intuitive feeling component of Myers-Briggs, while the 3 wing brings the introspective 4 out into the social world, hence the E for ENFP. Also, only the healthiest 4s would ever test as a J, so that's basically how I got to ENFP. I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback here for pairing the vibrant, upbeat ENFPs to Type 4, but that's my rationale. Also, both 4 Wing 3s and ENFPs can imagine doing so many things with their lives that it causes them to be filled with a deep sense of restlessness. they also have subtly high standards, meaning they often think things can or should be better than they actually are, be it their relationships, their career, or just life in general. So again, if you're an ENFP looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 4-wing 3 is an interesting place to start. Next up is the INFP. For the INFP personality type, I chose 2 Enneagram types. First, there's the 4 with a 5-wing, and second is the 9 with a 1-wing. The INFP personality type aligns with the Enneagram 4-wing 5 because of their desire to establish a unique identity. INFPs are defined by their vibrant imagination and crave opportunities for creative self-expression. They're also very sensitive and have a deep commitment to authenticity. Now, if you don't know already, Enneagram 4s are called the individualist because their core desire is to feel special, unique, and significant. They want their identity to be distinct from anyone else, which is why they turn to the arts to express themselves in truly creative ways. And the 5-wing makes 4s even more introspective, withdrawn, and comfortable living in their imagination. Overall, both INFPs and 4-wing 5s are empathetic, creative, and somewhat isolated individuals. So if you're an INFP looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 4-wing 5 is a great place to start. Now let's talk about how the INFPs also match Enneagram 9s with a 1-wing. INFPs are called mediators, and 9s are called peacemakers. So right away, I knew there was a surface level similarity. INFPs are described as yearning for harmony and acceptance. They make great listeners because they're so patient, warm, and non-judgmental, just like type 9s. However, they're so good at letting others take up space that they often feel lonely or invisible. 9s are professionals at blending into the background of other people's lives because they fear that asserting their identity will fracture the stability and comfort of the status quo. Now, the influence of the 1-wing makes healthy 9s lean into their beliefs and commitment to their values, just like INFPs do. Overall, both these personality types thrive when they feel like they have equal parts structure and purpose so that they can live into their convictions, all within a stable environment. So if you're an INFP looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 9 with a 1-wing is a great place to start. Next up is the INTP. For the INTP personality type, I believe the best match is the Enneagram 5 with a 4-wing. INTPs typically seek out unconventional lives as they're a unique blend of creativity and rationality. Much like 5s with a 4-wing, they're a mix of the head, type 5, and the heart, type 4. INTPs are also similar to the 5-wing 4s in that they're plagued with analysis paralysis. They can live in their head for so long, coming up with endless new ideas and possibilities, that it makes it hard for them to take action. Lastly, both these types struggle with relationships. The 4-wing makes the already isolated 5 even more withdrawn, despite it also creating a deeper desire to feel seen and known. Overall, INTPs and 5-wing 4s are curious, observant, original, and a bit disconnected. So if you're an INTP looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 5-wing 4 is a great place to start. Next up is the INTJ. For the INTJ personality type, I believe the best match is the Enneagram 5 with a 6-wing. INTJs are described as deriving much of their identity and self-esteem from their intellect. Basically, they're nerds. Affectionately speaking, of course, because they're a mix of super analytical and incredibly practical, which is exactly what a combination of 5s, analytical types, and 6s, practical types, tends to create. Another reason I thought INTJs and the 5-wing 6 were a great match for each other is that they're both so rational and practical that it often makes them relationally clueless. They can be somewhat robotic, which can frustrate folks who either are trying to work with them or be in a relationship with them. Overall, both these types are incredibly intelligent, hardworking, solution-oriented folks that keep us on our toes if they let us into their world. So if you're an INTJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 5-wing 6 is a great place to start. Next up is the ISTP. For the ISTP personality type, I believe the best match is the Enneagram 6 with a 5-wing. 6s by nature are a bundle of paradoxes, both seeking relationships and yet highly independent, while 5s tend to be intellectual, often introverted, and even a bit eccentric. Now, 16 personalities describes ISTPs as quite enigmatic, as they are friendly but private, calm yet impulsive, and steady but also spontaneous. ISTPs also have the same tendencies as 6-wing 5s to seek out fields where they serve or protect those in need, which is why this Enneagram type is called the defender. Both these personality types often become firefighters, paramedics, or police officers. Ultimately, both ISTPs and 6-wing 5s are looking for a familiar environment to do practical work with a trusted group of friends that appreciate their creativity, humor, and unpredictable nature. So if you're an ISTP looking for your Enneagram type, go ahead and start with the 6-wing 5. Next up is the ENTP. For the ENTP personality type, I believe the best match is the Enneagram 6-wing 7, and more specifically, the counterphobic 6-wing 7. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the Enneagram Type 6, I've got a full breakdown linked below, but all you need to know is that some 6s appear strong and aggressive, aka counterphobic, and others appear passive and gentle, aka phobic. Anyway, ENTPs are called the debater because they enjoy holding court, pushing against mainstream ideas, and have a charismatic or jovial spirit. Counterphobic 6s are also contrarian by nature, but that's because they have a rational mind that justifies whatever stance they take. However, 7s are called the entertainers, so the 7-wing makes 6s far more playful, funny, and entertaining, just like the ENTP. The 7-wing also adds the ability to think fast and communicate seemingly unrelated ideas in a cohesive manner. So with that said, if you're an ENTP searching for your Enneagram type, I'd say the counterphobic 6-wing 7 is a great place to start. Next up is the ESFP. For the ESFP personality type, I believe the Enneagram 7 with a 6-wing is the best match. And honestly, this one was pretty easy to match up because they're both called the entertainer. ESFPs are described as naturally curious, outgoing, energetic, and easily bored by any repetitive or mundane task. If you know anything about Type 7s, it's that they're high energy, they love new and exciting things, and that their core fear centers around feeling trapped or without positive stimulus. Both 7s and ESFPs want to make life interesting at all times, and this goes for both their work and their relationships. The 6-wing also adds more restless anxiety to the 7's natural drive for new experiences. Overall, both these types bring an unmistakable sense of energy and excitement to their social circles as they seek to find companions to adventure through life with. So if you're an ESFP searching for your Enneagram type, you probably already knew it, but I'd say the 7-wing 6 is a great place to start. Next up is the ESTP. For the ESTP personality type, I believe the Enneagram 7 with an 8-wing is the best match. While 7s are typically fun-loving and lighthearted, the 8-wing drives 7s to be a bit more success-oriented and serious as they crave social prominence. The Enneagram Institute calls 7s with an 8-wing the realist, but I've always thought of them as the serial entrepreneur, which is exactly what 16 Personalities calls the ESTP. The ESTP personality is described as having a blunt sense of humor, a desire to be the center of attention, and a rational but easily distracted mind. Similarly, the 8-wing makes fun-loving 7s a bit more spicy, egotistical, and likely to take shortcuts to success rather than learn the depths of any one topic or skill. Overall, both these types have highly synthetic minds that make them very capable, engaging, and somewhat defiant in their approach to creating an exhilarating life. So if you're an ESTP looking for your Enneagram type, go ahead and start by taking a look at the 7-wing 8. Next up is the ENTJ. For the ENTJ personality type, I believe the Enneagram 8 with a 7-wing is the best match. 16 Personalities calls ENTJs the commander because they are dominant, relentless, and unforgiving. Yeah, it's intense. And that lines up pretty damn good with the Enneagram Type 8, which is called the Challenger. The 8's core desire is to prove their strength by dominating or resisting their environment, and they do this with either their high-functioning mind, physical strength, or both. Now, when it comes to their feelings, both ENTJs and Type 8s are usually detached from their emotions, with the exception of their anger. However, the 7-wing can make 8s far more playful and lighthearted, but it also fuels their restless mind. Both these types can be truly inspiring inspiring leaders that make great personal sacrifices for the good of others. So if you're an ENTJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say check out the 8 with a 7 wing. Next up is the ESTJ. For the ESTJ personality type, I believe the Enneagram 8 with a 9 wing is the best match. 16 Personalities calls the ESTJ the executive because they are true leaders that seek to organize teams, chase lofty goals, and attack inefficiencies of any size. They're also judgmental, stubborn, loyal, and struggle to express emotions, just like Enneagram 8s. Now, 8s with a 9 wing are called the bear because they're more often the strong, silent type, but when they're in leadership positions, all the traits described in the ESTJ personality come out in full force. 9s are called the peacemaker because they want harmony in their environment above all else. So when 8s have this influence of the 9, they have a keen sense of instability, be it within the home or the workplace. Again, this is another parallel with the ESTJ's reputation for being a stabilizing force. So with that said, if you're an ESTJ looking for your Enneagram type, I'd say the 8 wing 9 is a great place to start. Next up is the ISFP. The ISFP was a tough personality type to match to just one Enneagram type, but since that was a challenge I gave myself, I landed on the 9 with an 8 wing, which is also a tricky personality to understand. There were a few key descriptions of ISFPs from 16 Personalities that helped me lock in this choice. First, ISFPs easily relate to others' emotions, which helps them establish harmony, goodwill, and minimize conflict. Second, ISFPs have an independent spirit, but can end up feeling lost in the tide of everyday life. This is 9s with an 8 wing to a T because they mix the practicality of the Type 8 challenger with the empathetic and avoidant nature of the Type 9 peacemaker. Both ISFPs and 9 wing 8s have low self-esteem that prevents them from going after their dreams, and instead, they focus on being a big fish in a little pond. Overall, both these types are imaginative, warm, and endearing individuals. So if you're an ISFP searching for your Enneagram type, I'd say go ahead and take a look at the 9 with an 8 wing. All right, friends, that's a wrap on this episode of You've Got a Type. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the Enneagram type I mapped to your Myers-Briggs type felt accurate. And if it didn't, well, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments. By the way, I've got long form videos for each Enneagram type that go super in depth. So if you want to learn more about your Enneagram type, be sure to check out the links in the description below. Lastly, and this is a big one, if you enjoyed this at all, please just do me a little favor and hit the like button or hit the subscribe button. Or if you want to be a real hero, share it with your friends. All those little acts of support and word of mouth make a huge impact on the channel and all the work that I do here. All right, that's a wrap on me. I appreciate you watching. As always, I'm your host, Colton Simmons, and I'll see you next time on You've Got a Type.